Now, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to next WASTELESS WORLD Talks with Bill and Kevin. And our topic today is in everyday's life. We will speak about tears. And it's a special one in some way. And let's see what we will discover. So today I will start with Kevin. Kevin, again, if you close your eyes and I say the term tears, what do you see?
I see a really stupid English contradiction. I was once, years ago, reading a book, and it had this expression that's saying that he was so happy the tears were running down his legs. And that has always stuck with me.
Well, Kevin, you continue to amaze me.
Thank you.
Okay, your turn, Bill.
I just love this word. I love the word because for many reasons, the release of energy. But when I close my eyes, what I see is a small child. Maybe it's one of my grandchildren. I can't see who it is. And there's a tear in the side of their eye. And my first reaction is, okay, I've said something wrong. Or I've hurt him in some way. And there's work to do to correct that.
I think that it will be interesting discussion. You know, I came to this term on Friday, so 4 days ago. And when I went today to the office and when one of the colleagues came, she said that today died our door lady. There was a doorman, door lady, a very great old lady who was working here for a long time, and she died today. No, and we have tears in our eyes. And I wrote, you know myself, so I have to write. If something touch me, I have to write, otherwise it will tear me down. And I write it down, one pager, gave it to my colleague and to some others. And even more tears came out because they said they never read anything so nice. No, and then when we have it in the noontime, we came that the tears and smile and happiness, so the sadness and happiness both can be expressed by tears. And I do remember very well my discussion with my granddad once when he said, you know, Michael, you know why I don't cry? Because since his wife died, he never cried again. He said, I cannot cry. I have no tears. And really, he has to drop 3 times a day, drops in his eyes, because the tears has not been created anymore. And when I realized that I have dived a little bit deeper, it's a long time ago when we spoke about it, and I realized, for example, that the tears of pain taste, or we can say taste, different than the tears of happiness. One are salty and the other are a little bit sweet, we can say. So it's quite interesting. So, and I think there is much more about tears, because I don't think that only humans are the ones who have tears. Or what is your opinion, Kevin? We cannot hear you?
I was just going to say that tears and crying is a social thing. It's something we do alone, but it's also something we do together with others. I remember this time last week I was talking to my wife Anna, and we were joking about something really stupid, and we were laughing so much we were crying, and it's really, really nice. And other times I remember once I was in a cinema and there was some really sad film, And everyone was more or less okay until the first person started crying. Then everybody started crying. And it was something really comforting, this fact that we were fine until one triggered us off, and then it triggered everybody.
That's very interesting, because probably everybody's been in the same situation where whenever the first one starts, everybody else cannot hold it back. And I wonder if it's the same with, for example, right now, the world is going through a number of different, very difficult situations. And is there a worldly comparison with tears? That is, well, if somebody gets it, that we're really in a lot of pain, and if they can express it in a certain way, the rest of the world also realize that we're in a lot of pain.
We cannot hear you again. We cannot hear you, Kevin.
It's because I've been coughing, so I'm trying to hide it. It's yeah, tears triggers empathy in others. I think it's one of those. It's part of our universal language. The human species may have a lot of different languages, but we also have one common language, and that's our bodies, that's ourselves, that's our expressions. Those are universal, and tears are universal, and we can easily recognize them as tears of joy, tears of happiness, tears of rage, tears of sadness. But it's one of the things which helps us communicate with each other, no matter who we are.
You know, if it's so, and I do believe that you are right, why do we say don't cry, or men's don't cry, and big boys don't cry, and so on? Why do we try to hide it? We shame for our tears.
We traditionally have very macho cultures, and the whole picture of what a man is shaped from that, and the fact that big boys don't cry or a real man doesn't cry is part of that macho culture. And one day maybe we can investigate the word macho, because the meaning has the word has gained more meaning over the years, and used to be a good thing. I'm a macho guy. He's a macho kind of guy. But it has changed to where there's a negative connotation with macho. And I agree with you. We've all heard that term, "don't cry," or big boys don't cry. We've all heard that. But what is the person who is saying that trying to do? What are they trying to make me stronger by telling me not to cry? Are they trying to heal me by telling me not to cry? What are they trying to do? Or are they trying to control me or have some sort of power over me by telling me that I am misbehaving by crying? It's a complex. Kevin, what do you think? I mean, you deal on these levels a lot too. What am I off base on this one?
No, I think it's really interesting, the fact that it's okay to laugh in public, but it's not okay to cry in public. How can that be?
Yes.
And the interesting thing is that both expressions of emotion, but some emotions are okay and others are not so okay. But I think that it's extremely healthy to be able to cry, get emotions, get the feelings out, and communicate to others rather than trying to repress how you really feel.
I think in the olden days, maybe the times when I was growing up, or maybe in my father's time, um, it simply was not okay to cry. But crying, the first word that came to my mind when you mentioned that, Michael, the tears I see as very healthy, cleansing, releasing, instead of keeping everything bottled up. I see tears as a very positive word.
I, for example, don't swipe the tears away from my cheeks. I let them be there because, and you can hear it when I play the flute, or when I sometimes sing and so on, or speak about my granddad. You can see how my voice is trembling, and frequently I have tears in my eyes. And I think it's really healing process because they somehow clean you up. They help you to get away the dirty feeling or the bad feeling, because it's like a relief. And if I do remember properly, but sorry if I'm not right, I think that even in the ancient times they used the tears for some healing purposes. Not sure about, but I think there was something, because in tears there is some very special substances are in tears. And I don't know if you know that, for example, if somebody is frozen completely to death, the eye do not freeze, because the saltiness or the salt content in the tears is so strong, salinity, or I don't know how it's called in English, it's so strong that the eyes simply don't freeze. I didn't know about it. I read a study about it. It was interesting. And there are studies about tears. And to be honest, I don't know if they are more about tears or about love. Smile. Probably about the second one.
Yeah. I think it's so interesting that if something is extremely funny, we cry with laughter. If we're sad, we cry with sadness. I have this thing every time, and I don't know why, every time I hear choral music, especially Mozart's Requiem, it brings tears to my eyes. I just simply cannot do anything about it. And it's not because I'm happy, it's not because I'm sad, but on some emotional level, it is just so beautiful that it brings me to tears.
I will share with you after the call, Pat, who is in Australia, the mother of geology, who joined me on the noon event. She wrote 3 years ago or 2 years ago an article about tears. And it's quite interesting because she investigated about, there are some links. And one of the findings is that the center for tears is very close to the center of love in brain. So they are very close to each other. And probably this is why both of these emotions are connected with tears, because they are so close together. But I think we should stop saying don't cry, because we cut the process of healing generally. So we should stop shame for tears. I do remember the time, I told you several times probably already, as I was standing in a factory and the full truck of radish has been thrown in a garbage container, and I was standing there and regularly crying. And at the time, 2,000 tons per month has been wasted, and it wake up so many emotions, even in my client, that today is 20 tons. So we reduce significantly, so to generally few percent of the original quantity. And he said it was emotional when I saw you there with the tears in your eyes. So this is what I'm coming back to you, Kevin. I think there are for sure situations in which tears of one can move the world.
That's very strong. That's very strong, Michael. I have two questions. do different cultures view tears differently? Michael, you've had experience with some Oriental cultures also, and Kevin, I know you've traveled around.
I think they do. I will not, I don't know about tears, but I know that they see, for example, the death with different eyes, that they dress differently. So in India, the color of mourning is white. In our culture, white is the happiness. But I never asked about tears. And what was interesting, today there was with me about 10 people from different countries, and it resonated with every single one the same. So Indians, American, there was Australia. I think that tears is something special which really can connect the people. I think that it will be similar, but not sure, not sure.
Okay, second question. Do animals, not humans, do animals have tears? Do they cry?
Yes. My point of view, yes. And the same plants. I think plants can have tears. And I have seen that if you hurt a tree, you see something like tears there. Or even if you break a leaf on the flower, there is something which I call tears. So I think it's not just the humans who express with tears the emotions. I think that the tears, and you mentioned, I think it was you, Bill, that maybe tears are the universal language. You know, before we find out that every language, in every language, silence sounds the same. That was one of the finding, and no matter which language you speak, silence will all the time sound same. But maybe tears are the next one, you know, and we are building up the stones of the really global language. Silence, tears, what will be next? Smile? I don't know. But I think we are really making the language which is so important, and we mention it so many times. Maybe we are discovering or creating a language which really will be spoken by or is already spoken by everyone. We just do not realize that.
It was certainly, as a species, use extremely complex body language. And the fact that our face has so many more muscles than most other species, and we use those muscles to communicate with each other. And I think it's the same with tears. I think most mammals probably have tear ducts, but perhaps they use them more to protect the eyes and clean the eyes, whereas we're so advanced in signaling our emotions that we actually use our tear ducts to a slightly different purpose, to express not just sadness, but joy and happiness, and just to signal to other people that we're in a highly emotional state.
I think it will be, I think one who can recognize that can be the people who study the Aborigines or the people of the original culture. I think these people must, I have never seen anyone in the, of course, in the movies, documents, and so on, any one of the people crying. You know, if you speak about movies, have you ever seen a superhero crying? And just on the side, have you seen ever a superhero go to the toilet? You know, it's how they do it. Tell me, they spend the whole movie 1 month and without going to the toilet? I think this is a supernatural, super feature of the superheroes. Not that they can fly and so on. They can spend 1 week without going to the toilet. No, it's just joke, but I think that
no, you're touching on another related point, and perhaps, and that is that going to the toilet is seen as a weakness. Okay, you're no longer in control, body's in control now, so it's a weakness. Perhaps in the same way that crying is a weakness or showing emotion is a weakness. And what other activities are there that show a weakness? And superheroes do not. I don't ever see a superhero embracing a human being or giving comfort. It's more of a on a strength sort of. That's how they express themselves, through strength and control, not through vulnerability or weakness.
Actually, Bill, they touched on a really interesting point, because we were talking earlier about why we don't like people crying. And I think what it does two things. It actually exposes the weakness of the one not crying. Because then for them, it represents a problem to deal with. How do you comfort somebody who is crying? And so instead of doing that, and instead of becoming a more caring person, we tell them to stop crying, because it's a challenge to us rather than a weakness in them. So I think that crying is actually a strength, not a weakness.
Just like vulnerability is a strength and not a weakness.
Yeah.
Not everybody would agree with that, Kevin.
I think this is one of the reasons why the society or the people who rule the society call it weakness, because they don't want the people to be strong. They don't want you to say, I don't shame for my tears. And this is something, it's like with the waste prevention, you prevent waste happen here, not on the garbage bin, and it's so easy to switch. This is why they said, no, you cannot live without waste. Everybody must waste. And with the tears can be the same, because it's your decision, or maybe not decision, but the decision is whether you show them or not. But whether they will come or not, I think it's not influenced by us. It's influenced by the emotions.
And the emotions control that person, and the controllers want us to remain in control and obedient. And once we have given vent to our emotions, allow the emotions to take over, we are no longer controllable. We can no longer be controlled if the emotions are controlling us.
I agree entirely. It's we are easily controlled. Sorry about
that. It's quite interesting, because what you said, why the demonstration and the protest works. What is in the protest right now? There is everywhere protest for Israel or protest for Palestine. The number of people, to be honest, I do not remember any other in my life which came so fast in such a big scale. Maybe there has been some, but I do not remember them.
Well, the protesters are not allowing themselves to be controlled. They're going to speak what they want to speak, and their emotions, their anger, or whatever emotion, complicated emotions, but they are controlling the people now, and the powers that be are not able to control those protesters, and that's why they don't like protests.
What I see in starting with Greta and some climate protesters and so on, so not speaking right now about the war, I think that the giants will come to protest, because if you hold in your hands a banner, you will not use the hands for change. You just hold the banner. And I think they are favoritized. They don't speak about it, but you see, so the other people can do what they want. But in this case, in the case of the really strong emotion, I think that this is why I said that we are really close to the point where really the world will stand up. And I just ask in 2 polls, I ask on LinkedIn whether we need borders between countries. And the second was what the borders are used for. Very interesting answers generally. So majority that the borders exist to control people. And the question whether we need them or not, the people really cannot answer this question. For a long time, there was not a single answer on this. That was strange.
I think that the first borders come from here, and then we put them up all over the world. It's really amazing. We don't need borders.
I am the same opinion. So, you know, if there will not be borders between Israel and Palestine, there will be no war because of the borders. I know I simplified a lot of, but in fact, I lived for 18 years behind Iron Curtain. Was told that behind the curtain is the evil, and there was none. There was simply none. So it's quite interesting how the discussion about the tiers turn out, because I think that really we are step by step closer to something which will speak to every single one.
But I think the interesting, just hopping back to not so much tiers, but the emotion around tiers. Emotions are infectious, and they spread much, 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 much quicker than any disease. And I think that's the danger to the giants, if they do trigger strong emotions, because we can all catch those emotions extremely quickly.
And maybe this is why they are so strongly pushing for digitalization, AI, and the others, because there are no emotions. We become zombies, looking at the displays and so on, emotionless. And this is what they are trying to achieve. Yesterday I put in the Industry 5.0 newsletter 2 news. One was that YouTube is trying to pretend deep fake, so the other people can ask for removing deep fake videos of their personalities. And the next news was that some deep fake, let's say AI agency which concentrate on deep fake is calling people to create more deep fake videos of real people. And it was in one set of news, these two just came. It was very interesting. And the next interesting part was that the government of China is trying to implement artificial intelligence in this communist legislation of the country generally. That's a horrible image. Emotionless people controlled by AI, and AI being communist tool. I don't know if you have seen the visit of the Chinese president in LA recently, or San Francisco. Only Chinese flags on the street. You know, that's, I don't understand it. But the emotion, yeah, you are right. So let's get the right one. Let's find the right emotion which will really connect every single one, because that will be the ultimate point of change.
And there are an awful lot of emotions around. That's the great thing about the human species. We have both extremely positive and extremely negative emotions. And yeah, they drive us along. We are a very powerful species and very easily manipulated by our emotions.
You know, when I look at you in the camera right now, Kevin, behind you is the picture where the hand is showing with the finger up to the head. If you move your head a little to the from my, yes, and right now it's scratching you, you know, it's
Yeah.
It's a great emotion, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not the hand of God.
No, but if you stand next to it and you stretch your hand, it will be exactly the picture of Michelangelo, you know. So, but with the difference that it will be, instead of the hand of God, will be your hand. And if you have seen all these AI images, all the time, the AI hand is in the position of the God's hand. It's never in the other position.
I don't know if you've seen this. I was working on a new social media brand, which will launch next year. And researching them, you have to pay to be or to use the content, and that's that. It's and I was reading that the shift of the giants, and now they're all moving over towards having paid content. You have to pay to see and use their services. And I couldn't believe what I was reading, because the two biggest giants were both saying the same thing, and that is, you don't have to pay because we're losing revenue because we can't sell your privacy details anymore. The reason they want to charge us money to use them is to guarantee both truth and the fact that there won't be any bots on their services. And I mean, talking about closing the gate after the horse has already left, I mean, it's just unbelievable how stupid they think we really are.
And I sent you today a news which me and you, because we are in Europe, we cannot see. Only Bill was able to open it, you know. And the official, sorry, you are in European Union. It's a really crazy sentence, which I have to laugh. But it's said because it shows up how the access to information easily can be limited. Just an IP address, that's all. Of course, there exist tools, Surfshark and similar, which I can change my IP address to something to the US and I will see it. But it's a paid service, which I am not ready to pay for. But it's quite interesting. So, and it's interesting about the emotion is the same like the shadow generally, that nobody can take the emotions away from us. On the other hand, the technology make us emotionless. So I think we have the emotions, but somewhere hidden inside so deep that it's harder and harder to get them out. And
I'm wondering if the giants can take emotions away from us, and what I'm thinking about is the neural headbands that can read your emotion and then send that via RF to a computer, and it's being used in China now, in some places in the schools, to see which students are going to sleep and which ones are fully engaged in the lecture. And some that has spread to the U.S. in some ways. So, for example, there are some employers who are beginning to require this of some of the employees, and so and you can probably make a good case that these neural headbands perhaps should be worn by bus drivers, right? Because you don't want them going to sleep when they should be paying attention to the road. Same with aircraft pilots. But if we extend that to common workers, and then if there's negative feedback when you start drifting to sleep, and they can send I don't know, a little electric jolt, wake you up. They could also send you a little electric jolt if you're thinking something you shouldn't be thinking, right? If you're not mouthing the party line or the tribal line that you're supposed to be. So I could see where you could, where emotions could be controlled or channeled or modified by some controller, some giant.
Uh, I think that the way how they do it, because they cannot take the emotions from us. We have them. It's the same like with the shadow, you know, but they can come with so many informations that we forgot. So we buried our emotion under a layer of something. Have you ever tried this neuro headset?
No.
I did.
No.
I did twice on exhibitions. And generally, I was excellent because the excellency was not in concentrating on one specific task, but was in non-thinking. If you did not think, it works well. And I am good in that, so I am good in not thinking. But just to tell you, we have 3 minutes to go, or even 2. So,
But Michael, do you do meditation?
yes.
Do you meditate? Yes. So you are capable of turning the machine down.
I can do it even right now during the talk. I am not thinking, you know, I cannot explain it. I cannot explain. So it's when I'm thinking, then it's a process which I can work with information. Right now, it's not there. I just reflect. So I'm like a mirror and I'm trying to reflect, but then I will think after. So, but I do meditate generally every evening before sleep and so on.
So when you're, if you're able to do that, then is there any value in your wearing one of these neural headbands of someone else being able to see how you're? So the defense against the neural headbands would be to stop thinking.
If you start thinking, it behaves. So it was like a game, you know, you have a ball in the middle and those who do not think can move it easily. But if you think and if you concentrate, there was no movement at all. So it was like a game. It was interesting to try. And then I tried with a robot and robotics and general similar results. The people are all the time surprised about the results. So 2 minutes right now to the end.
This is fascinating, and it's an area that we have not explored. Have we not explored this, Michael? Really?
No.
In a year and a half?
I checked all our talks. It's easy to check. So I changed the way how I name it, and right now it's really easy to find the topic.
So when you say that you clear your mind and that right now your mind is not thinking, and I started thinking to myself, I am not planning what I am going to say. It's a pure reaction. There's a thought that goes on and it comes right out my mouth. I am not trying to mold it or make logic out of it or anything. And that's one of the reasons I appreciate these talks is because it's because it's so from the core, from my gut.
So I would like to thank you both for great discussion again. We are at the end. I would like to wish everyone have a nice time, free of waste and wasting in all its forms. Stay safe, free, human, and don't think. And don't shame for your tears. And see you next week. Bye-bye, everyone.
All right.